What up, everyone? This is Mr. Lord, Dr. Professor, Dark Joker, here with another edition of Traditional Fans with Opinions, where I'll give my reviews for whoever I watched, read, or played today. And who are Traditional Fans with Opinions? That is myself, and that is you, the viewers. With all that being said, on with the reviews. The beginning after the end, episode 5. So in this one, you know, Arthur has been captured by these elven knights, and Tessia she asks them to stop to let him go, but they don't because elves hate humans. And Virion, who is Tessia's grandfather, makes him stop. Once Tessia says that Arthur saved her, and so basically Arthur meets Virion, and then along with Tessia's parents, who are King Alduin and Queen Marial of of the elves. So it's revealed that Tessia is the princess. And then basically how the King and Queen relented letting Arthur stay with him for a night is Tessia just basically just annoys him. And it's actually kind of adorable. And then basically so the castle, Arthur explains how he was separated from his parents. He didn't tell them about Sylvia, but he mentions then how he saved Tessia from the slavers, how he helped get her back to the elves, and he asked for help in returning the Sapin. Now, far as now, Alduin tells Arthur that the only portal that leads to Sapin won't be open for another 5 years. But after some pressure from Tessia, he agrees to have some guards help Arthur get back on foot as repayment for saving Tessia. And Arthur, he's pondering around everything. He wonders if his parents even want him back because he got attacked and he wasn't while taking him to someone to train him. And the fact that he wasn't even able to protect him, he wonders if they even want him back. But Tessia urges him, tells him that they do want him back. Then Virion appears and tests Arthur's strength by sparring. And then Arthur wins first round. Virion wants to be a therapy second round, but Tessia scolds him, basically pinches his butt to get him to stop. And Virion offers to train Arthur as he's determined that Arthur has the will of the beast inside his mana core. And that if Arthur doesn't train it, he will die. So basically, the purpose of the training is under Virion, is for Arthur to survive having the will of the beast inside of him. Which is probably going to explain I haven't read the source material, but I imagine that's probably going to explain the time jump. If shown as older. So who knows? Maybe he stays the whole 5 years. I don't know. I haven't read the source material, so I can say for myself. But as far as those goes, I enjoyed it. It was interesting seeing the Elven Kingdom. It was an interesting design. I liked it. It was interesting how they explained some more about how the hostility between the elves and the elves and the humans, and basically how Arthur has to deal with all of them. And Virion was awesome. That was a cool freaking elf. I feel like he's gonna be a pretty cool character throughout this show, and I look forward to next week's to see how the training goes. Andor season 2, episodes 4 through 6. So these three episodes take place in 3 BBY, or 3 years before the Battle of Yavin. So 1 year after last week's set of episodes. So Cassian and Bix are hiding out on Coruscant. Kind of a weird place to hide from the Empire that has its capital in Coruscant. And so they are active like operators for Luthen. Bix is having some like PTSD from her interrogation from Gorst in season 1. Now, while I'll recall in the first 3 episodes that being brought up too much, so why that's being what she's having PTSD over, I don't know. Honestly, I would have thought the scene in season 3 would have been what they've had as like the controversy as what is causing her PTSD, which that would be more understandable. Even though things can't go as far as the media made it seem like it did, and that she was able to kill him before he could do anything. I would have thought the way Mia portrayed that would have been what caused PTSD. No, thankfully, it did not go far in episode 3. Thankfully. I mean, those are acts that should never happen. But it is weird that they're talking about forced. Anyway, so during these 3 episodes, Luthen sends Cassian to assess the status of the rebel cell on Gorman. So Gorman's actually being relevant. After they basically wasted it in the first 3 episodes, they're actually making it relevant. Now, I thought they were going to save it for episodes 7 through 9 because of the Gorman massacre is 2 BBY. Well, in Disney's timeline. Now, these episodes, they do use the version from the EU where Tarkin killed a bunch of Gormans in 18 BBY. Now, I don't know if it's the same year in Disney as it is in the EU, but they do have something of Tarkin killing a bunch of Gormans. And so, and I guess this is like the one in episodes 7 through 9 is going to be the second Gorman massacre. Then, and so while this is going on, and basically Luthen's casting there because Dedra is working there. Then Saw Gerrera's working with this guy named Willman to deal with this Idonium extractor in order to get some fuel, which is a very dangerous job. And while all this is going on, Mon Mothma is trying to get support from other senators to the kill renewal of the bill that gives a lot of power to the ISB. But a lot of people afraid of the Emperor do not do that. They support the bill because they're afraid. And, basically in Andor, he believes that the Gormans are too inexperienced with being rebels, so he doesn't think they're ready to handle it. Then Cyril, who had somewhat infiltrated the rebels, had reports about a heist. And basically, Partagas and Dedra let the heist happen so that, you know, so that basically they can let the rebels do their thing so that basically they can justify other actions. Basically, it's controlled opposition. And then Saul kills, Ludi, who was a member of the partisans who he had worked with Wilmon. Then he makes Wilmon work on the extractor for the heist. Basically, like, and Cassian get mad at Luthen because, like, basically Luthen wants Gorman to rebel so that whatever happens could spark the rebellion and start the Galactic Civil War. And Cassie also gets pissed because Luthen visited Bix trying to get her back into active duty. Cassie does not want her back in active duty because she's showing like PTSD signs. And Luthen's like he needs to see the big Cassie needs to see the bigger picture to support the cause, defeat the Empire. So like both make valid points. And the heist is actually successful. And there are these two characters named Vel and Cinta who are like rebels. Like Luthen sends him to help the Gormans. Cinta is accidentally killed by one of the rebels. By in friendly fire. Vel gets pissed. Basically, they're like a lesbian couple. I don't remember these characters. They're kind of irrelevant. Yeah. Basically, it's so basically feels like you're gonna carry her to the day you die, which friendly fire it can be traumatizing. No one's gonna say it's not. And but Luthen you know and Cassian, they make valid points about like all of their like with everything. Like they both make valid points regarding like the cause, how people should be used. I mean, look, PTSD can affect war, how someone is able to do. See, I do agree. You may not necessarily want someone who has PTSD doing a bunch of spy operations that could go badly. That, but you do have to value the cause. Like, you do have to get stuff done. Like, it is a war. You do have to put the mission first. So, like, both make valid points. You know, basically, there's like some party Mom Mothra goes to. She talks to Krennic. Yeah, basically, they debate on stuff. Like, clearly have some issue, like, disagree on a lot of stuff. And Krennic's awesome. Like, Krennic is great in this. Now, I feel like that scene was kind of a waste. It was like, okay, like a lot of it's like, who are these characters? I don't care. Like, so Bail Organa was in these 3 episodes. I mean, didn't really, it's mostly Mon Mothma. I can't seem to do like it's mostly about Bale. It's supposed to be about like he's supposed to be basically playing second fiddle to Mon Mothma, which should not happen because Bale is more important to like the founding, the rebellion than Mon Mothma. I mean, he is in the EU. Basically, he was the leader because Mon Mothma, Darn Bale was freaking get along. Like, and Bail Organa would was the big mediator between them. Because Garm was very much about military action, very aggressive. Mama was more passive, you know, not as much about war. You know, one of them like Garm wasn't full on Saw Gerrera. He wasn't that, but he did like want to be aggressive against the Empire. Bale was kind of in the middle. He kind of was a mediator between the two, and that's how the first 2 years of the war went. So Bale should have been involved more in these episodes. But I will say with Gorman, they wasted the last first 3 episodes. They actually used it these 3 episodes to help set up the Gorman massacre. And I would say this overall, it's an improvement. Like these 3 episodes are an improvement overall. I thought the lesbian stuff was a waste of time. Like it's like okay, I don't care. Like the relationship, like if you're gonna have romance in something, make it actually relevant in like a positive way for a story. Because unfortunately, the way Hollywood works now, most romance like brings down the story. It doesn't help. Like Star Wars Expand Universe did have a lot of romance at times, but that wasn't the main point of the characters. And those characters, and there was more to them than romance, and there was more to the story than that, and that's what helped the EU prosper. Problems with Disney, that's not the case. So these characters we just don't care with. We don't care that they die. Like it's like, oh look, someone was like, who the frick is Senta? I don't care. I mean, and I don't understand why El Organa was recast. Doesn't make sense age wise. You know, Jimmy Smith's would still play the character. I think. Given he did play him in Obi-Wan, I think they should have brought him back. But I don't know if it was budget. I don't know what the reason was. I think if you're gonna bring like it didn't make sense. And they should have also had Garbett Lipless because he's very like if you want you'll talk about member berries, he's the senator of Corellia, the home world of Han Solo and Wedge Antilles. So you have had a senator from that planet. I mean, and EU jangling keys for Garbett Lipless because he's amongst those 3 founding rebel leaders. He's the coolest one. So he would have been a cool addition to these 3 episodes, but damn, bring him in like there's a lot they could do with this show, but Mon Mothma being the focus of the Coruscant stuff was a terrible idea. Luckily, there's not like they at least do thing with them where it's like okay, trying to deal with the Senate bill. Okay, yes, that's what we want to see. Dealing with the actual Senate, not dealing with family squabbles. Like I don't care about the arranged marriage. Like it's so freaking dumb. And these were better. These were more watchable than the first 3 episodes. And, like you know, I can't say they're good. I say it's like we got some like more like Cassian being a rebel, like doing a mission and stuff. Okay, good. I want more of that. I don't want to see him basically being like captured. Like how much of season 1 was spent of him being captured in that prison, and like there was like nothing with it. I was like, what the frick? Then first 3 episodes this season, he was captured by a bunch of retarded rebels on Yavin 4. Like It was like, what the frick? And apparently, Cassian Andor is ins- is inspired by Joseph Stalin. Yeah, apparently Joseph Stalin was an inspiration for this show. I don't know how, like, now that was according to the BBC. Basically, it's believed that the Tie Fighter heist was based off of a Tiflis bank robbery in 1907 that Stalin led, and I mean, and basically Gilroy admitted that the connection was true, and like, what? Like comparing Cassian Andor to Joseph Stalin to a like a freaking Soviet. Uh, yeah, that doesn't bode well. That Soviets are being used as inspiration for the rebels. I mean, yes, I know the Viet Cong were historical inspirations for the rebellion in the original trilogy. I do know that. And that was due to George Lucas's very flawed views of the Viet Cong. Like, the way the rebels are portrayed in Disney Star Wars, they're more accurate to the Viet Cong in actual history than in, well, than they were in the original trilogy. If the Viet Cong were not nice people, they were not good people. And like rebels we see in Disney Star Wars, they're more evil like the Viet Cong, and they're more retarded like the hippies who supported the Viet Cong. So, yeah, this was more watchable than the first three episodes this season, but I have concerns about next week's, and with the Gorman massacre being what sparks the rebellion, the fact that what leads to it, that pisses me off. That basically it was a freaking psyop. That basically it's a psyop to to basically start the rebellion. Like the entire thing was a psyop by both sides to start the rebellion. Now and like now it's now yes, fortunately had the formations rebellion as a psyop. That did happen. Where Vader told like Galen Merrick told Galen Merrick to rally enemies of the Emperor to form a rebellion, distract them so they can kill the Emperor. But that was handled better. Because basically that ended up being a ploy to capture the Emperor's enemies, which ended up being backfiring because there was an actual rebellion. And there was a Goran massacre as I mentioned earlier, there was a Goran massacre in the EU. That was in 18 BBY. And that did help inspire a lot of the early cells. Yeah, there's so much they could have done with this. But like, so the spy stuff was cool, but everything else was kind of boring. I mean, Mothma was definitely an improvement these three than the previous three. Like, okay, the ISB, yeah, that's a problem. And yeah, they are setting up how the Senate's gonna be go defunct. And A New Hope. Was okay. Hopefully next week's, obviously they're probably gonna finish all the Gorman stuff. Then after that, it's gonna be like, you know, hopefully a war. So yeah, hopefully next week's an improvement. You know, to improve the rate like this D3 did compared to the first three. Maybe next week's could actually be good. Well, that's it. Did y'all like the stuff I reviewed? And if you have your own opinions about all that, you put all that in the comments. Thank you for watching, and like, subscribe, and all that. And look forward to the next video.